If you analyze the engineering, the design or the structure of human being, it is engineered to reach a purpose, a mission. The purpose of human existence is to reach the state of human perfection, that is God realization, self-realization, to discover the divinity within. Every one of us constantly, continuously seeking and pursuing happiness. There is a constant quest for pleasure, happiness, joy. We seek happiness through love, knowledge, power, wealth, peace. These are all various avenues we seek for happiness. Knowledge, love, power, wealth. These are all the areas we are seeking this happiness, pleasure. Now, if you analyze, all this in absolute sense is infinite. Absolute knowledge, absolute bliss, absolute power, absolute happiness. All this pursuit culminates on discovering the self. Say the scriptures. But what happens is, in this pressure for pleasure, we seek in the wrong avenues, in the wrong direction, that is in the outside world. What the scripture is trying to advise us, suggest to us, is to change your direction from the outside world to your inner self, which is the abode of peace and bliss, which is the abode of absolute knowledge, absolute power, absolute in anything. So therefore, one of the very essential elements of right living is to discover yourself. We all go through the three states of consciousness. The three states of consciousness are the waking state of consciousness, the dream state of consciousness, and the deep sleep state of consciousness. Our life is a cycle of these three. At any given time, you are either in the waking state, or in the dream state, or in the deep sleep state. So these three states are the state of conditioned consciousness. So these three states are not your original self. They are not your real self. They are the conditioned state. Beyond the waking, beyond the dream, and beyond the deep sleep state of consciousness is your pure self, the unconditioned consciousness. That is our real self. So when the Atman, the pure consciousness, the God principle or the spiritual spark within, whatever terminology that you want to use, when the pure consciousness functions through your physical body, when the pure consciousness identify with your physical body, you become the waker, experiencing the waking world. In this waking world, you have diverse experiences. And the waking world seems to be very real to us. When you leave the boundaries of the waking world and enter into the dream state of consciousness, you become the dreamer experiencing the dream world. And when you leave the dream state of consciousness, and the dream state of consciousness is actually when your pure consciousness identifies with the subtle body, you become the dreamer. And when the same pure consciousness identifies with the causal body, you become the deep sleeper. So, in the waking state, we believe this waking state is very, very real. It seems very real to us. But when you leave the boundaries of the waking world and enter the dream state, you become the dreamer. In the dream, you have a totally different identity. You have a totally different personality than the waking state. And when you leave the waking and the dream state, enter the deep sleep state of consciousness, you experience a state of nothingness. You experience a state of blankness. You experience a state of blank, nothing. Waking, dream, and deep sleep. In this waking world, though seems real to us, is it real? Let's analyze. What is real? Anything real is something that persists, something that exists in the past, something which exists in the present, and that which will exist in the future. This is the test of reality. Anything that exists in the past, present, and future is real. Does the waking world stand the test of reality? In the waking world, it seems very real to us. You can see, you can touch it, you can knock it, everything seems very real. But when you enter the dream state, analyze the verdict of a dreamer, the statements of a dreamer. The dreamer, when you are in the dream seems very real so long as the dream lasts. Isn't it? Even though the waking world is very real to us, the moment you leave the waking and reach the dream state, in the dreams, as I said, there is a totally different identity. In the waking world, you are a married person running a successful business, very comfortably settled life. In the dream, you could dream as a bachelor. In fact, the married people dream as bachelors. And bachelors dream as married people. In the waking world, you are comfortably settled and enter the dream. In the dream state, you can experience a state of nothingness. It's a totally different state, beg your pardon. As a bachelor, suffering from unemployment, no job, struggling in life. Now, when you enter the dream seems very real to you, isn't it? If you analyze the dream, let's say you're driving. You're not driving, you're traveling with somebody else is driving, all right? And as you're driving, suddenly you fall off to sleep just for 10 minutes or half an hour. In that half an hour of sleep, you dreamt for about 5 minutes. Just for 5 minutes, all right? What did you dream? A very exciting dream. You dream that you have won lottery for 1 crore. Just a dream, suddenly. You're taken a lottery ticket and you won the lottery. And when you dreamt that you won a lotto or a lottery, okay? and you check the number in the newspaper or wherever you can find the number, and the number is matching. Okay? The first digit, second digit, third digit, it's matching. Your heart starts beating. Fourth digit, fifth, all the digits is matching. And you couldn't believe, is it real? And yes, it is in the dream, okay? Don't forget that. And then you find your one, and the result fee is 1 crore. Or a bit more hot example would be, what is that game show? Kaun Banega Crorepati, correct. All right? You have been selected to play the game with Amitabh Bachchan, 2 crore. And the questions goes on. Sorry? 15th question, is it? 16 questions, am I right? So first question, all right. Second question, all right. Third question, all right. Fourth, 10 question, all right. And then you're so excited. 15 question also you have answered rightly, and no lifelines are used, and you have 3 lifelines left, and on 1 more question to answer in the dream. Don't forget that. And the final question also happened to be a very simple question, and you won 2 crores. Where? In the dream. Don't forget that. All right? And you're so excited that you won the lotto, and Mr. Amitabh Bachchan wrote the check for 2 crore for so and so, and you receive the check, and so excited, as you're walking out of the stage, you trip and fall and wake up. Terrible, isn't it? And you wake up, and why? When you wake up from that dream, would you want to go back to the same dream again? Will you say, let me go back to the dream and just receive the check and come back? Would you want to do that? You don't give any importance to the dream, isn't it? When you wake up from the dream. So that dream, in the half an hour sleep as you're traveling, you slept for about 10 minutes and you dreamt that. In the half an hour traveling, you slept for 10 minutes, you dreamt that you won the game show for 2 crore. You don't give it any importance to the dream, isn't it? Now analyze both the verdicts of the waker and the dreamer. In the waking state, you thought the waking world is very real. In the dream also, exact feeling. The dream lasts only for probably 10 minutes. But in that 10 minutes, or even for half an hour, you can account for years and years of experience, isn't it? You could have married, you could dream as you're married, and you have children, and you showed your wedding photographs, etc. Now analyze, which world is real? Is the waking world real or the dream world real? Both says, both seems to be very real. The dream is very real so long as the dream lasts. The waking is very real so long as the waking world lasts. And when you enter the deep sleep state of consciousness, you experience a state of nothingness. The scripture says, you are neither the waker, nor the dreamer, nor the deep sleeper. You beyond the waking and the dream and the deep sleep state of consciousness is your essential self, the Atman, the pure consciousness. Our purpose in this existence is to identify, is to discover that reality, that self. Who are you? You got to ask that question. King Janaka, a great king, had a nightmare, terrible dream. One night, he dreamt as if he's a beggar begging in the street. Terrible dream. And suddenly, he woke up from the dream and posed this question. Am I King Janaka who dreamt as the beggar begging in the street? Or am I that beggar who's dreaming now as King Janaka? Am I King Janaka who dreamt as the beggar, or am I that beggar who's now dreaming as King Janaka? What is the identity? And he called an emergency meeting to his, household sage Ashtavakra, and asked this question, please answer me, I can't understand. And Ashtavakra said, you are neither King Janaka nor the beggar, you are your own self, your purpose is to discover that. We do not know it. So the human engineering, human constitution, human being is engineered to reach that purpose, that mission. But even though we are born with that incredible potential and ability, we get diverted, distracted towards the worldly pleasures, which are momentary, which are tantalizing. So therefore, for us to discover that identity, we got to understand the knowledge of the scriptures. We have to study and reflect upon these values of life. The scriptures, gentlemen, excuse me, sir, you must decide, you want to sit here or you want to attend the phone. Gentleman keeps walking up and down. The constitution of a human being is engineered to seek the ultimate state of human existence. If you want to pursue that, we have to study and reflect upon these values. The scriptures basically talks about your own self, your own real self, nothing short of it. When you continuously reflect upon these values, the knowledge of right values, education upon higher values, through study and reflection upon the scriptures, it is nothing but a continuous positive affirmation. Education on right values breeds right mental attitude. When you continuously and consistently reflect upon these values, whether you want it or not, whether you know it or not, your attitude, there will be an attitudinal transformation. We are all suffering from a great handicap, attitudinal handicap. When you have the right values, that breeds right mental attitude. When you have the right mental attitude, you have the right perception of life, right vision. When you develop that right vision, your perception of the world changes. The world remains exactly as it is, but the way you see the world changes.